All right, let's talk about something we all deal with: money. Specifically, that feeling of where did it all go? Today, we're going to break down a super simple but really powerful rule that can totally change how you think about your finances. Let's dive in. You know the drill, right? The paycheck hits your account, you pay the bills, you buy some stuff, and then poof, it's just gone. If you've ever had that sinking feeling, wondering where it all went, trust me, you are not alone. It's a super common problem. But the good news is, there's a simple way to get back in the driver's seat. And that solution is the 50-30-20 rule. You might have heard of it. It's a budgeting idea that got really popular thanks to US Senator Elizabeth Warren, who talked about it in her book, All Your Worth. And the goal here isn't to put your finances in a straitjacket. It's just to give you a clear, simple plan for handling your money day to day while still building for the future. So, what is this rule exactly? Well, it's a really straightforward way to split up your after tax income, the money you actually take home, into just three simple categories or buckets. Let's break down what goes into each one. First up is the biggest chunk. 50% of your take home pay goes towards your needs. These are the absolute essentials, the things you have to pay to live and work. We're talking about rent or your mortgage, utilities like electricity and water, groceries, getting to work, insurance, all those non-negotiable bills. Okay, next is the 30% for your wants. This is the fun bucket. This is all the stuff that isn't strictly necessary for survival, but let's be honest, makes life a whole lot better. Going out for dinner, that vacation you're planning, your streaming subscriptions, shopping. It's your lifestyle money. And finally, we have the last 20%. This one is for savings and debt. This is you paying your future self. It's for building up an emergency fund, putting money away for retirement, and this part is super important, making extra payments on your debt above the minimum required. This is the bucket that really builds your long-term financial security. And really, that's it. That's the whole strategy. It takes your entire income, which can feel really chaotic, and organizes it into three clear, manageable buckets. Suddenly, your money has a plan. Okay, the idea sounds simple enough, but how do you actually put it into practice? Well, here's a super practical three-step plan to get you started. So, first things first, you gotta know where you're starting from. For just 1 month, track every single dollar. You can't manage what you don't measure. Step 2, take all that spending and sort it into those three buckets: needs, wants, and savings. This is where you see how your reality lines up with the 50-30-20 guideline. And finally, step 3 is where the magic happens: adjust and automate. Find places to cut back, and then, this is the game changer, set up automatic transfers to your savings right after you get paid. That way, you pay your future self first before you even have a chance to miss the money. But here's a little reality check. Personal finance is just that, personal. What works for one person in one place might not work for you. So let's talk about why you might need to bend this rule a bit. And this is probably the most important thing to remember. The 50-30-20 rule is a starting point, a guideline, not some rigid, unbreakable law. Its real strength isn't in those specific numbers. It's in how you can adapt it to your own life. The goal here is progress, not perfection. So, for instance, let's say you live in a really expensive city where rent is just sky high. Your needs might eat up 60% of your income. The key is to then adjust your wants down to 20% while you fiercely protect that 20% for savings. That savings bucket, that's the one you should always try to keep sacred. It's your path to financial freedom. And you can see just how flexible this framework is. When it comes to debt, your minimum payments are a need, but any extra cash you throw at it to pay it down faster comes out of your savings bucket. If you're on a lower income, your needs might naturally take up a bigger piece of the pie. And hey, if you're a high earner, your goal should be to save way more than 20%. The same principles can even be tweaked for a small business budget. So with all this talk about flexibility, it kind of makes you wonder, is this rule really for everyone? Let's take a look at the arguments for and against it. There's this great quote, often credited to Einstein, that really gets to the heart of the main criticism. The 50-30-20 rule is awesome because it's simple, but is it maybe too simple? When you look at the debate, it really comes down to this. Its simplicity is its biggest pro and its biggest con. On one hand, it's super easy to get started, and it encourages a balanced approach. But on the other hand, that line between needs and wants can get blurry. And having a big wants category could, for some people, be a temptation to overspend. And get this, there's actually some cool psychology behind why this works.
Research suggests that for some people, especially those of us who tend to be impulse spenders, super strict, detailed budgets can totally backfire. A more flexible plan like this one actually gives you permission to spend on wants within a set limit, which can make it way more likely you'll actually stick with the whole plan.
So, after all that, what's the big takeaway here? If the numbers can change and the categories are flexible, what's the real point?
The real golden rule for any kind of budget is the simple truth: spend less than you earn. That's it. That's the foundation of all financial health. The 50-30-20 rule isn't some magic formula. It's just a really great tool to help you achieve that one simple goal in a way that feels balanced and intentional.
Ultimately, what this is all about is giving every single one of your dollars a job, a purpose. The 50-30-20 rule helps you do that by assigning your money to your present self, your happy self, and your future self. So, the question I want to leave you with is this: what purpose are you giving your money?